Captain Do-hyun Kim stood at the front window of the HSS Paragon's bridge. His ship was the most advanced warship humans had ever built. Through the window, he could see the stars scattered across the darkness of space. Each tiny point of light reminded him of home, of Earth, and of everything they had to protect. The Paragon was different from other ships. It wasn't just big or powerful, it was special. Inside its core, it carried a new type of weapon, one that used something called quantum technology. Do-hyun didn't fully understand how it worked, but he knew it was humanity's greatest achievement. The weapon could change the very rules of how things worked in space. "Captain, all systems are running normally," said Lieutenant Ta-won Lee from his weapons station. His voice was steady, but Do-hyun could hear the tension in it. Everyone on the bridge knew they were humanity's last hope. Do-hyun walked to the center of the bridge, his footsteps echoing in the quiet room. The bridge crew worked at their stations, each focusing on their tasks. The screens around them showed different colors and numbers, monitoring every part of the massive ship. "Chief Engineer Hae-nul, how is our special package doing?" Do-hyun asked through the ship's communication system. Hae-nul's voice came back quickly. "The quantum core is stable, Captain, but I must remind you, we've never tested it at full power. We don't know exactly what will happen when we use it." Do-hyun nodded, even though Hae-nul couldn't see him. The engineer's words matched his own worries. They were flying into battle with an untested weapon, but they had no choice. The enemy was coming, and they had to be ready. Science Officer Jae-yun Park spoke up from her station. "Captain, I've been studying the quantum readings. The power levels are higher than anything we've seen before." She pushed her long black hair behind her ear, her eyes not leaving her screen. "It's like we're carrying a small star inside our ship." Do-hyun walked to Jae-yun's station and looked at her displays. The numbers and graphs meant little to him, but he trusted her judgment. Jae-yun was the smartest person he knew when it came to quantum science. If she was impressed by the readings, it meant something important. Communications Officer Myra Song's voice cut through the quiet. "Captain, message from Earth Command. They confirm the enemy fleet is approaching. They expect the Nexians to reach our solar system within 6 hours." The bridge grew even quieter. 6 hours. In 6 hours, they would face an alien fleet that wanted to destroy Earth. The Nexians were known for their huge ships and powerful weapons. They had already conquered 3 other civilizations in the past year. Do-hyun returned to the front window. He could feel his crew watching him, waiting for him to say something. They needed their captain to be strong, to show them that humanity had a chance. "Listen to me, all of you," he said, turning to face his crew. "I know we're just one ship. I know the Nexians have thousands. But we have something they don't. This quantum weapon. More importantly, we have each other. Every person on this ship is here because you're the best at what you do." He looked at each crew member in turn. "Ta-won, you're the best weapons officer in the fleet. Jae-yun, nobody understands quantum science like you do. Hae-nul, you've kept this experimental ship running perfectly. Myra, your understanding of alien communications is unmatched." The crew sat straighter in their chairs. Do-hyun could see their fear turning into determination. "We don't need 1,000 ships," he continued. "We just need one shot. One perfect shot with our quantum weapon. That's all it will take to show the Nexians that Earth isn't an easy target." The bridge hummed with energy, not just from the ship's systems, but from the crew's renewed purpose. They had trained for this moment. They had prepared. Now, they just had to wait. Do-hyun looked back at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Nexian fleet was coming. But they didn't know what was waiting for them. They didn't know about the Paragon, or its quantum weapon, or its crew. Most importantly, they didn't know that sometimes a single shot was all it took to change everything. Science Officer Jae-yun Park's hands froze over her control panel. The readings on her screen made her heart beat faster. She double-checked the numbers, then triple-checked them. There was no mistake. "Captain," she called out, her voice steady despite her racing heart. I'm detecting multiple objects entering the solar system. They're big, and there are many of them. Captain Do-hyun walked to her station quickly. The bridge crew grew quiet, all eyes turning toward them. The moment they had prepared for was here. "Show me," Do-hyun ordered. Jae-hyun pressed several buttons, and the main screen lit up with a view of space. At first, it looked empty. Then small dots of light appeared, growing larger and more numerous by the second. The computer started counting them. 100, 500, 1,000. And it kept going. 10,000 ships, Jae-hyun whispered. Maybe more. Communications officer Myra Song's station suddenly came alive with sound. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission. It's being broadcast on all frequencies." Do-hyun straightened his uniform. "Put it through." The screen changed, showing a creature that looked nothing like a human. The Nexian commander had dark scales instead of skin, and 6 eyes arranged in a circle on its face. When it spoke, its words were translated by the ship's computer. "Attention, defenders of Earth," the Nexian said. Its voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "We are the Nexian Empire. Your planet has been chosen for integration into our domain. Surrender now, and we will allow your people to serve as our workers. Resist, and we will destroy everything." The bridge was so quiet that Do-hyun could hear the soft hum of the ship's systems. He looked at his crew. Each face showed determination, not fear. "Myra," he said, "prepare our response." Myra's fingers moved over her controls. "Ready, Captain." Do-hyun stood tall. "Nexian Commander, this is Captain Do-hyun Kim of the Earth defense ship Paragon. We reject your offer. Earth is our home, and we will defend it." The Nexian's 6 eyes blinked one after another. "You send one ship against our fleet. Your species is even more primitive than we thought. We have conquered 3 civilizations more advanced than yours in the past year alone. Each had better weapons, stronger defenses, and larger fleets than Earth. All fell before us." Lieutenant Ta-won spoke quietly from his weapons station. "Captain, their front ships are moving into attack formation." "Your bravery is meaningless," the Nexian continued. "We give you 1 Earth hour to reconsider. After that, we will destroy your ship and then turn our weapons on your cities. Perhaps watching your greatest defender die will help your leaders make the wise choice." The screen went dark. Do-hyun returned to his command chair and pressed a button on its arm. "Engineering, this is the captain." "Hey Newell, how's our quantum weapon?" "The core is humming like a happy child," Hey Newell replied. "But Captain, the power readings are getting strange. If we're going to use it, we shouldn't wait too long." Jae-hyun spoke up from her station. "Captain, I've analyzed their fleet formation. They're spreading out to surround us. They think we're going to try to run." Do-hyun nodded. The Nexians were acting exactly as Earth's leaders had predicted. They were so sure of their power that they couldn't imagine any real threat from a single ship. "They gave us an hour to surrender," Do-hyun said to his crew. "Let's use that time wisely. Jae-hyun, I want every scan you can run on their ships. Ta-won, check the quantum weapons targeting systems again. Myra, analyze their message for any useful information about their tactics or psychology. Hey Newell, keep that core stable." The crew moved with purpose, each focusing on their tasks. Through the window, the Nexian ships looked like a swarm of metal insects against the black of space. They were still moving, still spreading out, still confident in their victory. They didn't know that sometimes the smallest opponent could be the most dangerous. They didn't know that Earth had spent years preparing for this moment. Most importantly, they didn't know that their greatest strength, their huge fleet of ships all linked together in perfect formation, might soon become their greatest weakness. Captain Do-hyun Kim sat alone in his command chair, watching the enemy fleet through the main window. The Nexian ships filled the view like stars. But these stars brought death instead of light. He had 40 minutes left before they expected Earth's surrender. Lieutenant Ta-won approached with a tablet in his hands. Captain, I've completed the weapons check. The quantum cannon is ready to fire. He paused, then added quietly, "But sir, we've never fired it before. We don't know what will happen." Do-hyun took the tablet and looked at the numbers. The quantum cannon was humanity's greatest weapon, but it was also its greatest mystery. Scientists had worked for 10 years to build it, but they had never dared to test it at full power. "What's your honest opinion, Ta-1?" Do-hyun asked. "Can we hit them?" Ta-1 stood straighter. "The targeting systems are perfect, sir. I can hit whatever you want me to hit." But he looked down at his feet. "The power readings are higher than anything we've ever seen. Chief Engineer Hae-Nul says it might tear our ship apart when we fire it." The captain's communication panel lit up. "Captain," Hae-Nul's voice came through. "I need to speak with you. It's about the quantum core." "Come to the bridge," Do-hyun ordered. A few minutes later, Hae-Nul arrived. His engineer's uniform was stained with grease, and his face showed worry. He carried his own tablet, filled with charts and numbers. "The quantum core is stable for now," Hae-Nul reported, "but the energy levels keep rising. It's like trying to hold back an ocean with a paper wall. If we're going to use it, we need to do it soon. If we wait too long..." He didn't finish the sentence. Do-hyun looked at his crew on the bridge. Each of them had families on Earth. Parents, brothers, sisters, children, all waiting to see if the Paragon could save them. If he made the wrong choice, he wouldn't just lose his ship and crew. He would lose Earth itself. Science Officer Jae-yun's voice cut through his thoughts. "Captain, I have something important to show you." Do-hyun walked to her station. Her screen showed complex patterns he didn't understand, but her face told him it was serious. "The quantum core isn't just a weapon," Jae-yun explained. "According to these readings, it doesn't just destroy things. It changes how physics works in the area it hits. It's like..." She thought for a moment. "It's like changing the rules of how things work in space." "Explain it simply," Do-hyun requested. Jae-yun nodded. "Imagine you're playing a game. Then suddenly, someone changes all the rules. That's what our weapon does. It changes how things work in space. The Nexian's weapons, their ships, their technology. None of it will work the same way after we fire." Communications Officer Mayray joined them. "Sir, I've been studying the Nexian messages. They're so sure of their victory that they're already sending orders to their ground invasion forces. They think we're helpless." Do-hyun returned to his command chair. The weight of command had never felt heavier. He had a weapon that could save Earth, but firing it might destroy his ship. He had a crew ready to die for their planet, but he didn't want to waste their lives. He had a chance to stop the Nexians, but only if everything worked perfectly. He pressed a button on his chair. "All hands, this is the captain speaking." His voice carried to every part of the ship. "You all know what we face. You know the risks, but you also know what we're fighting for. I promise you this. Whatever happens next, the universe will remember the Paragon and its crew. We will show these aliens that humanity cannot be conquered easily." The crew stood straighter at their stations. They were ready. They were afraid, but their determination was stronger than their fear. Do-hyun looked at the enemy fleet again. 25 minutes remained until their deadline. It was time to make his choice. But first, he needed a plan that would use their greatest weakness against them, their absolute certainty that they could not lose. Science Officer Jae-yun Park stared at her screen, her eyes wide with understanding. After hours of studying the quantum core's readings, everything suddenly made sense. She quickly pressed her communication button. "Captain, everyone, you need to see this immediately," she said, her voice trembling with excitement. Captain Do-hyun and the other bridge officers gathered around her station. On her screen, complex patterns of energy flowed like rivers of light. "Look here," Jae-yun pointed to the patterns. "We've been thinking about the quantum weapon all wrong. We thought it was just a very powerful gun, but it's not. It's something completely different. She pressed a few buttons, and a simulation appeared on the main screen. It showed a small area of space where the laws of physics seemed to change. The quantum core doesn't destroy things, Jai Yun explained. It changes the rules of how things work in space. When we fire it, it will create a bubble where our laws of physics don't work the same way anymore. Hanul scratched his head. What does that mean in simple terms? Jai Yun thought for a moment. Imagine you're playing a game of chess. Then suddenly, all your pieces can only move backward. That's what our weapon does to space. It changes how everything works inside the area it hits. But what will it do to the Nexian ships? Ta Wan asked from his weapon station. Their weapons, their engines, their shields, nothing will work the way it should, Jai Yun said. Their technology depends on the normal rules of physics. When we change those rules, their ships will be helpless. Do Hyun leaned closer to the screen. How big will this effect be? Jai Yun's face became serious. That's the problem, Captain. According to my calculations, the effect could spread across thousands of kilometers. If we fire it too close to Earth, she didn't need to finish the sentence. Mei Ray spoke up from her communication station. We can't risk firing it near Earth. If the effect changes physics in Earth's orbit, our satellites could stop working. Our own ships could become useless. The captain walked to the front window, thinking. The Nexian fleet was spreading out, preparing for their attack. They had 15 minutes left before the deadline. So we need to lead them away from Earth, Du Hyun said slowly. Far enough that the quantum effect won't reach our planet. Mars' orbit would be safe, Jai Yun suggested. That's far enough to protect Earth, but close enough that we can still get there in time. Hanul's voice came through the ship's speakers. Captain, the quantum core's power levels are still rising. If we're going to move, we need to do it soon. Do Hyun returned to his command chair. This was the moment when everything could go right or terribly wrong. If Jai Yun was correct, they could stop the entire Nexian fleet with one shot. But if they failed, Earth would have no defense left. Jai Yun, he said, are you absolutely sure about this theory? She stood straight and looked him in the eyes. The math is clear, Captain. The quantum core will change the rules of physics in the target area. The Nexians won't be ready for it, because it's impossible according to their science. They'll expect us to try to destroy their ships, not change how their ships work. Do Hyun nodded. A plan was forming in his mind. The Nexians were proud warriors who never backed down from a challenge. They would follow if the Paragon appeared to run away. They would chase their prey right into the perfect position. Mei Ray, he ordered, prepare a message for the Nexian commander. Tell them. He smiled slightly. Tell them that if they want Earth, they'll have to catch us first. Communications officer Myra Song took a deep breath before sending their message to the Nexian fleet. Her fingers moved quickly over her control panel as she prepared the transmission. Attention Nexian commander, she broadcast, her voice clear and strong. The HSS Paragon challenges your fleet to prove your worth. If you want Earth, come and catch us first. Unless, of course, you're afraid of one small human ship. Captain Du Hyun watched the enemy fleet through the main window. The Nexians were proud warriors. They would not ignore such a direct challenge to their honor. Ta Wan, Du Hyun ordered, prepare for maximum speed. And Newell, give us everything the engines have. The Paragon's engines roared to life. The massive ship turned away from Earth and accelerated toward Mars. Through the rear cameras, they could see the Nexian fleet starting to move. They're following us, Captain, Jai Yun reported from her science station. All 10,000 ships are changing course to pursue. Do Hyun allowed himself a small smile. The first part of their plan was working. Now they needed to make sure the Nexians followed them far enough from Earth. The main screen lit up with the Nexian commander's face. All 6 of its eyes showed anger. You dare to run from us, it growled. Your cowardice dishonors your species. Mei Ray had prepared for this. "We simply wish to give your mighty fleet a proper challenge," she replied. "Surely the great Nexian Empire isn't afraid to chase one small ship." The Nexian commander's scales darkened with rage. "We will hunt you down and destroy you. Then we will return to Earth and show them the price of such disrespect." The communication ended. Do-hyun turned to his crew. "Status report," he ordered. "The quantum core is still stable," Hae-Newell reported from engineering. "But the power levels are getting dangerously high. We have maybe 30 minutes before we have to use it." "Enemy fleet is maintaining pursuit," Ta-1 added. "They're spreading out to try to surround us, but they're staying in their linked formation. Their pride won't let them split up to chase us more effectively." Jae-yun studied her readings carefully. "We're approaching optimal distance from Earth, Captain. The quantum effect shouldn't reach the planet from here." Do-hyun watched Mars growing larger on their screens. The red planet would be their backdrop for humanity's most important battle. The Nexian fleet followed behind them, their massive ships filling space like an approaching storm. "Myre," the captain said, "send them another message. Tell them we're disappointed in their speed. Say we expected better from such a mighty empire." Myra grinned as she sent the message. She had studied the Nexian psychology well. Each taunt made them more determined to catch the Paragon, more focused on proving their superiority. The enemy ships accelerated, just as planned. They were so focused on catching their prey that they didn't notice how perfectly they were positioning themselves. Their massive fleet was arranging itself into exactly the formation the Paragon needed. "Captain," Hae-Newell's worried voice came through the speakers, "the quantum core's containment is starting to fail. We need to fire it soon, or we'll lose the weapon entirely." Do-hyun looked at his crew. Each face showed a mixture of fear and determination. They had trained for years for this moment, but nothing could truly prepare them for what they were about to attempt. "Take us into final position," he ordered. "Everything depends on what we do in the next few minutes. Myre, send them one last message." Myre nodded and activated her communication system. "Attention Nexian fleet," she broadcast. "Thank you for following us exactly where we wanted you to go." The red surface of Mars filled one side of the Paragon's view screen. On the other side, the massive Nexian fleet approached like a wall of metal. Chief Engineer Hae-Newell's voice came through the ship's speakers, filled with urgency. "Captain, the quantum core is reaching critical levels," he reported. "The containment systems are failing. We have less than 10 minutes before we lose the weapon completely." Captain Do-hyun Kim stood at the center of the bridge. Everything they had planned, everything they had trained for, came down to these next few minutes. He turned to his weapons officer. "Ta-1, status of the quantum cannon." Lieutenant Ta-1's hands moved steadily over his controls despite the pressure. "Targeting systems are locked on the center of their fleet formation. The cannon is charged and ready. But, sir," he paused, looking up from his station, "once we start the firing sequence, we can't stop it." Science Officer Jae-yun spoke from her station, her voice calm but serious. "The quantum effect will spread through their entire formation. Their ships are too close together. They're still using their linked battle network, which means when physics changes for one ship, it will affect them all." The ship shuddered. Warning lights flashed across every control panel. In engineering, Hae-Newell and his team worked desperately to keep the quantum core stable for just a few more minutes. "Captain," Communications Officer Myre called out, "the Nexians are transmitting. They're demanding our immediate surrender." The main screen activated, showing the Nexian commander. Its 6 eyes gleamed with triumph. "Your pathetic escape attempt has failed," it declared. "You have led your ship into a perfect trap. Our fleet surrounds you completely. There is nowhere left to run." Do-hyun looked at his crew. Each person on the bridge knew these might be their final moments. The quantum weapon was untested. Firing it might destroy the Paragon, along with the Nexian fleet. "Sir," Hae-Newell's voice cracked with strain, "we're out of time. The core is going to breach if we don't fire now." The captain straightened his uniform. "Mayray, open a channel to the entire crew." Mayray nodded, pressing several buttons. "Channel open, sir." "This is your captain speaking," Do-hyun said, his voice reaching every corner of the ship. "In a few moments, we will fire our quantum weapon for the first time. We don't know exactly what will happen. The weapon might tear our ship apart. But we do know this. Whatever happens to us, we will change the course of this battle. The Nexians think they have us trapped. They don't realize they've given us exactly what we wanted." He paused, looking at each member of his bridge crew. "It has been my greatest honor to serve with you. Earth will remember what we do here today. Taiwan, begin the firing sequence." Taiwan's fingers moved across his control panel. Red warning lights flashed across the bridge as the quantum cannon powered up. The entire ship vibrated with energy. "Quantum core is destabilizing," Hae-Newell reported. "We have to fire now." Through the view screen, they could see the Nexian fleet moving closer, their weapons charging, their ships forming a perfect sphere around the Paragon. They thought they were closing in for the kill. Instead, they were positioning themselves perfectly for what was about to happen. "All hands," Do-hyun commanded, his voice steady and clear. "Brace for firing sequence. Taiwan, take the shot." Lieutenant Taiwan's finger pressed the firing button. For 1 second, nothing happened. The bridge crew held their breath. Then the entire ship shuddered as if it were about to break apart. "Quantum core energy release at maximum," Hae-Newell shouted through the communication system. "Containment fields are holding." Barely. A beam of pure white light shot from the Paragon's quantum cannon. It moved faster than any normal weapon, crossing the space between the ships in an instant. The beam struck the center of the Nexian fleet, right where Taiwan had aimed it. At first, there was no explosion, no destruction, no obvious effect at all. The Nexian commander's face appeared on their screen, its 6 eyes showing amusement. "Was that your great weapon?" it asked, laughing. "A flash of light. Perhaps humans are even weaker than we thought." Then Jae-yun's science station lit up with readings. "Captain, it's working. The quantum effect is spreading through their fleet. Their linked battle network is carrying it from ship to ship." Through the main window, they could see it happening. A sphere of strange, shimmering space expanded from where the quantum beam had hit. Inside this sphere, the laws of physics were changing. The Nexian ships began to drift, their engines sputtering and dying. "Their weapons are powering down," Taiwan reported, watching his tactical display. "Their shields are failing. Everything that depends on their technology is stopping." The Nexian commander's image flickered on their screen. Behind it, they could see confusion spreading through its bridge. Warning lights were flashing. Control panels were going dark. What have you done?" the commander demanded. Its voice shook with fear for the first time. "Our weapons won't fire. Our engines won't respond. Even our communication systems are failing." Captain Do-hyun stood tall at his command station. "We changed the rules," he said simply. "Your technology depends on physics working in a certain way. We just changed how physics works in your part of space." The quantum effect continued to spread through the Nexian fleet. Ship after ship lost power. Their formation, once so perfect and threatening, became a drifting collection of metal shells. None of their advanced technology worked in this changed space. "The effect has stabilized," Jae-yun announced, studying her readings. "It covers their entire fleet. According to these scans, the change is permanent. Their ships will never work properly in this region again." Mayray's hands moved across her communication panel. "We're getting surrender signals from multiple Nexian ships, Captain. They're asking for help. Their life support systems are running on backup power, but even that is failing." Do-hyun looked at his crew. They were tired, shaken, but alive. Their single shot had done what an entire fleet of normal ships could not have accomplished. They had defeated the mighty Nexian armada without destroying a single ship. "Mayray," Send this message to all Nexian ships, he ordered. This is Captain Do-hyun Kim of the HSS Paragon. Your fleet is disabled. Your weapons are useless, but we are not like you. We don't seek to destroy our enemies when we don't have to. We will help evacuate your crews before your life support fails completely. In return, you will leave Earth's space and never return. The Nexian commander's image appeared one last time on their screen. All 6 of its eyes were focused on Do-hyun. You could have destroyed us, it said quietly. Why didn't you? Because, Do-hyun replied, sometimes the greatest victory isn't in destroying your enemy. It's in showing them a better way.